So you want to start backpacking. You want to take your day hikes to the next level and spend multiple days outdoors. Well, that's great. You probably know that you need a backpack, but what's all the stuff inside the backpack that you have to carry? Don't worry, I got you covered. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to my channel. I'm Ultralight, and in this video, I'm gonna show you everything you need to get started backpacking. We're gonna cover everything from shelter to food to water to everything else in between. There's gonna be a lot of information in this video, so I'm gonna leave timestamps in the description. So feel free to jump around to whatever section interests you the most. But with that said, let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that you're gonna need to start backpacking is obviously a backpack. There are two major things that you should consider when picking a backpack. They are the capacity size and the torso size of the backpack. For overnight hikes, I would recommend that you find a pack between 50 and 60 liters, ideally. And for your torso size, you should get this measured by someone at a store like REI. But essentially, your torso is the distance between the bottom of your neck and the top of your hips. So based on that, you should find a backpack that fits your torso comfortably. The backpack that I use is the Osprey Exos 58 liter pack. I've done a full review of this backpack, which you can check out in the top right corner. But this is one of the most popular backpacks out there because you can use it for day hikes, overnight hikes, and a lot of people use it on their through hikes. If you want to learn more about this backpack, then check out that video. Now, if you're not totally sure how much you want to carry in your backpack, then maybe the backpack is what you want to get last. So that's something to just keep in mind. And before I show you all of the stuff that you should carry inside your backpack, the one thing that you should really remember is that every ounce counts. For example, something that weighs 5 ounces versus 10 ounces may not sound like much at all, but that's the stuff that eventually adds up and adds more weight to your backpack. One of the most common mistakes that beginner backpackers will make is that they will pack way too heavy or they'll pack things that they don't need. So just always remember, the lighter, the better. Now, once you've decided which backpack you want, the next thing we have to talk about is shelter. The shelter that I use is a Mir Ultralight tent. Now, you essentially have 3 options for your shelter. You can either go with a tent, you can either go with a tarp, which is kind of like a tent but without any walls, or you can just go with a hammock. I would highly recommend that you go with a tent because the problem with the tarp and the hammock is that if the weather turns, you may not be so comfortable at night. And the other thing about the tarp and the hammock is that you're kind of dependent on the environment around you. Specifically, you need to have 2 trees that are just the right length apart for them to set up. But with a tent, you don't have to depend on the environment. And if the weather turns, you'll be in good hands with a tent. Now, you can definitely get into more specific details with your shelter. For example, there's 2-wall tent, there's 1-wall tent, there's tarp with some walls and tarps with no walls, and so on. I'm not gonna get into those details in this video, but something that you may want to research on your own. Now, going along with your shelter, we have to talk about your sleep system because you want to sleep comfortably at night. So the 2 main things that you're gonna need are a sleeping bag and a sleeping pad. This is what a sleeping bag looks like when it's all packed up. And this is essentially gonna be your blanket no matter what kind of shelter you're using. This sleeping bag is rated between 35 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means I can use this sleeping bag in almost any condition that's not freezing. So when you decide to pick your sleeping bag, make sure that you check the temperature rating on the bag before you buy it. And another thing that you should have with your sleeping bag is a sleeping bag liner. When you sleep at night, you essentially put yourself in the liner and then in your sleeping bag next. And what that will do is keep your sleeping bag clean because it's a lot easier to take your liner and then throw it in the washer when you come back home, rather than cleaning your whole sleeping bag altogether. And as a plus, a sleeping bag liner will also provide you with some extra warmth when you need it. Sometimes if it's so hot outside, you may just want to sleep in your sleeping liner, and that's totally fine too. So I definitely recommend that you get a sleeping bag liner as well. And the other main thing that you're gonna need is a sleeping pad. This is essentially your air mattress when you're out sleeping in the woods. And having a sleeping bag is really important because the space that it gives you between the ground and yourself will help to stop you from losing a lot of body heat to the ground. So definitely take a sleeping pad with you. This one is inflatable and it's super light, and I've had a great time with it. But you can also get sleeping pads that are non-inflatable, which a lot of people hang on the outside of their backpack, so that's another option for you as well. And the last option for your sleep system, which is optional, is this thing right here. This is an inflatable pillow. Personally, I need this inflatable pillow to sleep well at night. But what some people will do for a pillow is that they will just take their extra clothes and then layer it up on top of their sleeping bag. Definitely don't take your favorite pillow from home because it's just going to be way too bulky and heavy in your backpack. And of course, depending on the temperature at night, wherever you're sleeping at, you should be prepared for any condition. So layer accordingly based on that. I'll talk about clothing later in this video. Okay, now that we've talked about shelter, now we have to talk about food. The reality is that when you're out in the woods, it's not a great idea to carry fresh food with you the whole way. You may be able to carry fresh food on the first day, but after that, it's probably going to spoil. So instead, what you need to do is have meals that have little to no water stored inside. For example, you could have rice and lentils and bring the spices with you. Or you can bring ramen and then boil the noodles with you when you get to camp. Or the other option is to carry meals that kind of look like this. These are freeze-dried meals where you just boil some water, pour it into the pack, and then it essentially cooks there for you. And because they're freeze-dried, they carry a lot less weight than fresh food normally would. But if you saw my recent video of hiking in Shenandoah, you'll know that I'm not a huge fan of freeze-dried food just because they're not the healthiest or the tastiest. But on the other hand, these freeze-dried meals are really convenient and you don't have to worry about cooking with them. Now, as far as what you should be eating on the trail, I would definitely recommend that you eat foods that are high in carbohydrates. So in order to get all of that energy back, you're gonna have to eat a lot of carbohydrates and healthy fats. But at the end of the day, you should be eating what makes you happy. Personally, when I'm out hiking, I like to carry a lot of snacks like trail mix. I also like to carry a lot of Cliff Bars with me when I'm out hiking, just because they're easy and convenient calories and they taste great. But again, do your research and eat what you think is best for yourself. So now we've talked a little bit about what to eat, but another thing we have to talk about is how to actually cook your food. So one thing that you're definitely going to need is some sort of pot to boil your water and cook your food in. What I use is the jet boil system, which is definitely one of the most popular cooking systems, but it's also more expensive. But what I really like about the jet boil system is that it heats up so quickly and it's super energy efficient. And the second thing that you will need is some sort of fuel to boil your water and cook your food. You really have two major options here. The first one is a fuel canister. Now this is definitely the most popular option out there because it's easy and convenient to use. All you have to do is take the cap off and then simply screw the fuel canister onto your cooking system. I'm not gonna do it now just because I don't wanna waste fuel, but that's all you do. It's pressurized fuel that works really well in almost any condition. One little tip, if you do decide to get a fuel canister, on the label somewhere you should look for isobutane. Most fuel canisters will just have propane and butane on them. But the thing about isobutane is that it will ignite at much colder temperatures. One of the common downsides that I hear about fuel canisters is that they don't light up well when it's really cold outside. But if you're out hiking in the snow and you have a fuel canister with isobutane on it, it's much more likely to ignite. The second option, which I don't have with me, is what's called an alcohol stove. Essentially what you have to do is take some sort of can or pot, pour the fuel inside, and then ignite it. One of the main perks about taking an alcohol stove is that it will light in almost any condition and it heats up super well. But on the downside, you have to carry the fuel externally in a plastic bottle or any other container that you have. And if you accidentally pour too much fuel, well, then that extra fuel has to be wasted most likely. So I would recommend that you go with the fuel canister route, but of course, do what works for you. I mentioned this briefly already, but you should always take a lighter with you. If your cooking system does not ignite for whatever reason, you can always use a lighter to ignite it. Of course, be careful with it, but you should always have this as a backup. And of course, you can use this to start a campfire too. The lighters that I use are just from Walmart and they work great. Now, of course, you need something to eat with. Instead of bringing the utensils that you have at home, I would highly recommend that you get one of these. This is just a titanium spork, which is super light and it works great for almost every meal that I have out in the woods. Generally speaking, the longer the spork is, the more convenient it will be for you. Now, once you're done eating all of your food, you're gonna need some way of cleaning everything. So this is what I like to use. I have some biodegradable soap with me and I have a sponge. You just pour a tiny little dab of the soap and then you just clean it off with a sponge. It's that simple. The sponge that I use is essentially the same kind of sponge that you use in the dishwasher, but I cut it off so that it's less bulky and it takes up less weight. And the great thing about biodegradable soap is that you can use it interchangeably to clean yourself as well. And I'll talk more about that later. Now, the last thing we have to talk about as far as your food is concerned is how to store it. Because if there's one animal in particular that wants your food more than anyone else, it's bears. So you need to know how to store your food properly to keep it away from bears. And you essentially have two options. The first option is what's called a bear bag. This is just a dry bag that I use to put all of my food and my trash in. And then essentially what you do is you take a rope like this one and you attach it to the bear bag and then let it hang off of a tree branch. This is the option that I like because it's lighter and less bulky than the second option, which is a bear canister. I don't have a bear canister with me, but essentially what it is, it's a large container for you to put all of your food and consumables in, and you put it far away from where your shelter is set up. There are some places that you might go backpacking where bear bags are not even allowed. You have to take a bear canister instead. So just do your research and make sure you're following the rules of wherever you're going. Okay, we've talked about the backpack, the shelter, and the food. So now let's talk about water, because you have to stay hydrated on the trail. But of course you can't just drink the water straight out of the lake or the river. You have to clean it. So the way that I filter my water is with this thing. This is called a squeeze filter, and it's the Katadyn Be-Free bottle. So the way that it works is that you just scoop up the water from whatever stream you find, and then you put the lid back on. And finally, all you do is just squeeze the bottle and the water will be filtered through as you drink it. This is the most convenient solution that I've found on the market, so I definitely recommend giving it a try. But there are other ways that you can definitely filter your water. One of the options is a gravity filter, where you essentially fill dirty water in one bag and then gravity works to filter the water into another bag which contains the clean water. Some of the other methods that you could use is using UV light to clean out your water. And there's also iodine tablets, which you essentially throw a tablet in and it cleans it from there. But personally, I would not recommend using these methods because I have not found them to be super effective. But of course, do your research and do what you think is best for yourself. But again, I highly recommend the Katadyn Be-Free bottle. It works amazing. So we've talked about how to clean your water, but where can you actually drink it from? You could just drink it out of this bottle right here and then just store it in your backpack. But the thing is, water bottles usually won't have enough water for you to carry unless you're right next to a stream or a river. So the other thing that you're gonna wanna have with you is this thing. This is what's called a water bladder or a water reservoir. And it essentially fits into the backside of your backpack. And all you do is take this valve right here and then drink straight out of it. So the benefit of using this system is that you don't have to stop to drink water. You can drink it as you're walking. And it's super convenient. So I definitely recommend that you carry some sort of reservoir. Okay, so now the next thing that we have to talk about is clothing. Now when it comes to clothing for the outdoors, the number one rule that you have to follow is avoid cotton at all costs. Yes, cotton is light and breathable, but the main problem with cotton is that it just absorbs way too much water and too much moisture, and it takes forever to dry. And when it dries up, it also tends to smell pretty bad too. So avoid cotton at all costs. The materials that you should use are wool and synthetic, ideally. Wool and synthetic materials are definitely similar, but one of the main benefits of using wool material is that it will not smell as bad as synthetic material. So again, go with either wool or synthetic material and avoid cotton at all costs. Now, as far as how to layer up when you're outdoors, there's essentially 3 layers that you want to consider. It's going to be your base layer, your thermal layer, and then your shell layer. So the base layer is exactly what it sounds like. It's the stuff that directly touches your skin. When I'm out hiking in the summer, I usually just wear my dry fit shirt from Nike, and I wear a pair of running shorts, which works really well because it has built-in underwear. Now, if it starts to get really cold, then I'll put on my thermal layer. Usually this is a blue polyester jacket that I carry with me. And for my legs, it's usually my running tights. And both of these have worked great for me, so I have no complaints about them whatsoever. And finally, you have your shell layer, which is essentially your rain gear. Both my rain jacket and my rain pants are from Columbia, and they have worked great for me. The reality is that no matter how much rain gear you wear, you're gonna still get wet to some extent. But the Columbia gear that I've been wearing has worked really well for me so far, and they have generally kept me nice and dry for the most part. There are definitely lighter options out there besides the Columbia gear that I carry, but I've had this Columbia gear even before I started backpacking, so I just make the most of the situation from that. And while we're on the topic of clothing, I think this is a good time to talk about footwear as well. So for socks, I usually just wear these polyester socks that I use normally for running. These are ankle socks and they work great in most conditions, but if it's really cold or if there's a lot of bugs, then you may want to consider getting longer socks. And as far as shoes go, you essentially have 2 options. These are the shoes that I wear, which are just normal running shoes. To be specific, it's the Nike Pegasus 38 edition. Now, when you're out hiking in the woods, it's usually better for you to carry trail runners rather than normal running shoes. But so far I've had absolutely no issue with these running shoes. They've worked great for me, and I can use them in other things that I do besides hiking. And the other option, which I don't have with me, is hiking boots. The benefit of using hiking boots is that you have more ankle support. But in my opinion, hiking boots are less breathable and less flexible than running shoes, so I definitely prefer the running shoes. But if you're team hiking boots, then by all means go for it. Just make sure that it's comfortable and durable for your hike. And the last thing that I have to mention about hiking clothes is that you should have one set of clothes for when you're hiking and then one set of clothes for when you get to camp. Because when you get to camp, you don't want to be in all of your dirty and sweaty clothes because it's going to make it harder to sleep at night. So I would definitely recommend that you take at least 2 sets of clothes. Okay, now let's move on to the next category, which is your toiletries. Personally, I wear contacts, so of course I will take a little contact case with me. Now, if I'm only out hiking for 1 or 2 days, usually what I'll do is I'll pour the solution into this case and then just seal it off instead of taking the whole solution bottle with me. But if I'm out for more than 2 or 3 days, then I'll probably just take a small little solution bottle. If you wear glasses, then definitely take that with you plus your case. Or if you're a savage with 20/20 vision, then you're good on this part. Definitely take a toothbrush with you for obvious reasons. And as far as lotion goes, what I like to carry is coconut oil, but if you prefer something else, then do that. But the reason that I like coconut oil is that it just makes my skin feel really, really nice. And I can use coconut oil as my toothpaste, and it works really well. But if you prefer to take a tiny little packet of toothpaste, then definitely do that instead. Take a few pieces of toilet paper with you for when you have to go number 2 in the woods. And finally, I would recommend that you always carry a dry towel. You can use this to dry multiple stuff, including your cookware, yourself, and anything else that needs to be dried off. And of course, don't forget about the biodegradable soap. I mentioned this earlier, but most of these soaps can be used interchangeably. Just take it easy with how much you pour because you don't have as much soap with you out in the woods as you do at home. As far as first aid goes, all I really carry is a few bandages as well as a repair system if any of my materials get torn up. Now I know that there's way more that you can carry in a first aid kit, but personally those are the only 2 things that I've been able to make use of. If you take any pills or supplements or anything like that, definitely take that with you. But again, remember, every ounce counts, so don't take what you don't need. Now, as far as electronics go, what I really carry is just my phone, and I have my iWatch that I wear. What I'll do is I'll put the watch to power reserve mode so that it only shows me the time and it doesn't drain the battery on all the other stuff that I don't need. Some people like to take portable chargers with them if they're gonna be out for a long time. Personally, I haven't been on a trip long enough to where I would need a portable charger, but that's something that you could probably take. Or another thing people will do is take these small little solar panels that you can attach to your phone and it will just charge everything up. But of course, that's only gonna work if it's sunny outside. So be sure to check the weather before you actually use that. But the benefit of the solar panel is that you essentially have infinite energy as long as it's sunny outside. And the last main electronic device that I carry is this thing. This is the Garmin InReach Mini, which is essentially a GPS tracker. So if you have no cell service, you can still call for help with this thing. Thankfully, I haven't had the need to use that. But another thing that this device will do is it will allow you to send text messages via GPS if you do in fact lose signal. So you can send messages to your friends and family to let them know that you're safe, that you're at camp, or whatever you have to tell them. They're not a cheap investment, but they're definitely worth it. God forbid that anything should go wrong, but you should definitely have this because when you're out in the woods, you should not expect to have cell service in most places. Now the last category is the miscellaneous category. These are just all the other things that I carry with myself, and to be honest, they don't really group together in any way, so I'm just gonna name them as I go. Definitely take your wallet and your keys with you for obvious reasons. Another thing that I would highly recommend is a pair of trekking poles. Even if you're hiking on completely flat ground, these things do wonders for you. It makes going uphill easier, it makes going downhill easier, and it takes a ton of weight off of your shoulders and your legs. And for me personally, I have to use these trekking poles to set up my tent, so I take them along anyway. These are technically not necessary, but I would highly recommend them. I like to carry this whistle with me, which is also technically not necessary, but if you need to call for help, you can always blow it, and someone nearby will hopefully hear it and will help you out. Always take a headlamp with you. You could take a flashlight if you wanted, but the problem with the flashlight is that you have to use one of your hands to hold it. But with a headlamp, you'll have both of your hands available with you. And the cool thing about most headlamps is that they'll have various levels of brightness like this one does. And if you get into an emergency situation, you can have it flashing like this. So again, always have a headlamp with you. Another thing that I carry is this pocket knife. This one's super light and I use it to collect some wood to start fires if that's what I decide to do. but you can also use this to cut up your food or whatever else you have to cut up. So definitely take a pocket knife with you. Another thing that you're gonna need is a trowel, which is essentially a tiny shovel. So when you have to go number 2 in the woods, this is what you're gonna use. You go off to the side on the trail, you dig up a small hole, do your business, and then cover it with this trowel. And you have to pack it down really well, otherwise you might attract animals to that spot. So do bring a trowel with you. Another thing that you should definitely consider is some bear spray. Essentially what this is really strong pepper spray to keep the bears away if they do in fact run towards you. I've never had to use this, but I always have this on me in case. Just a few other things for your safety. Definitely take a pair of sunglasses with you because they make you look cool and they're gonna keep the sun out if it's really bright outside. If you have really sensitive skin, then you definitely want to take some sunscreen with you as well. For me, what I like to do is wear this thing. This is a 360-degree sun hat, and it does a great job of blocking out the sun if it's really bright outside. Another option that you might want to consider, which I don't have, is what's called a sun hoodie. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a very, very thin and light hoodie that you wear, which basically blocks off the sun from your body and the sides of your face. The reality is because I have brown skin, I've never gotten a sunburn, thank God. But you should definitely take some sort of sun protection with you no matter what. And finally, don't forget your coronavirus mask. Because no matter what the condition is of COVID, there will always be some building somewhere that will say COVID masks are required in this area. Now finally, the last category that I have to talk about, which is totally optional, is my film gear. Right now I am filming on my Sony ZV-E10, which is the main camera that I use to film everything. I also have my GoPro with me in case I do any kind of action stuff, or if it's just really hard to film and I need both hands. I also take my tripod with me and my microphone with me. And I don't have this yet, but I have a drone on the way, so I'm really excited to use that. Again, film gear is totally optional, but if you want to document your experiences, then definitely go for it. Just go for a really minimalistic setup because you don't want to add too much weight to your pack. And that's really all you need to get started with backpacking. Do you think that there's something that I missed out on this list? Do you think that there's something that I could have thrown out of this video? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, when it comes to picking your backpacking gear, it's all about what you think is best for yourself. There's a lot of options out there for everyone. So you need to do your own research and figure out what you think is best for yourself. Don't just go ahead and buy the gear that I showed you in this video. Consider many things, including the weight, the materials, the price, and so on. But hopefully this video gave you a good overview of all the things that you should be carrying. I hope this was really helpful for you. If it was, then please give it a like and subscribe down below. And I hope you guys have a ton of fun on all of your backpacking trips in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!